Hello and welcome to the Modern Barber Masterclass with Babyliss Pro and Darren Webster. I'm Charlotte, I'm the editor of Modern Barber, and today we're going to be treated to a long to short in 5 steps tutorial and a little discussion about the evolution of men's hair trends. Welcome, Darren.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Charlotte. Are you well?
I'm really well, thank you. It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too.
And introduce us to your lovely model today.
Look, you've thrown me. I can't remember what do we call
Oh,
him? Noel Gibb. Noel Gibb.
Noel Gibb.
Between Oasis and the Bee Gees.
I think he loves the name. I can tell by the expression on his face. So tell us what you're going to be creating today on Noel Gibb and what tools you're going to be using.
On the time frame, I just thought it'd be easy, and I've seen it through education, and I see it all the time working on the shop floor. Just a few pointers, really, and a few easy steps and guidelines. Sectioning, I think, is key, and just to transfer this long length hair, men's hair, into a nice short haircut, undercut.
Real. And I like that you kind of slimmed it down to 5 or so steps just to make.
Yeah, but I mean, I did that. I mean, you can have 25 steps, but I think you have 5 key steps, and then you work in each step before you move on. It means that you've got a clean step before you move on to the next one to get a better finish.
Perfect. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So kind of as you begin, I know we're going to talk a little bit about men's hair trends, the evolution.
Yeah.
But firstly, what was your journey into men's hair?
Well, hairdressing, oh God, I'm almost on 50 this year, but I started hairdressing probably about 12, 13. And I think once I decided that I bought my first set of clippers and sent everybody with short haircuts and undercuts and things unintentionally at the time, I just realized that I really liked it. And once I started my training and got into it, it was kind of my go-to. I think I was the kind of person, I used to love football, I used to love going to football. I was lucky enough to start with Acid House. There was lots of clubs, there was lots of going out, but the trends kept moving as well. And you know, it was kind of like 6 months, there was another one, and it just became so interesting for me. And then once I realized I was going to be a barber or a men's hairdresser as well as a hairdresser, I thought, you know what, I really like this, and I thought that was my thing.
Cool. So were you kind of directly inspired by any specific styles and hairstyles and music and film and that kind of thing?
Well, I think, yeah, coming through, you know, I guess it's that independent music for me. There was lots of cool bands just before that Britpop started. There was lots of hair like this, kind of longer. There was short hair. There was so many different styles. And I think when you start your clientele and you've got a younger clientele that is into the similar kind of things that you meet out and about when you're networking, they kind of bring it to you. So I think for me, it was important for one to learn it and then try to get ahead of it, so I knew what I could do and what I could suggest for clients and things like that.
Ooh. Well, I'll let you get started.
Okay. So what I have done is just prepped the hair. That's sort of the first step. And all I've done with the hair is used a preparation spray, and I've combed some mousse through there. And then I've just blasted all that in with a dry. It puts a nice finish and gets the hair all prepped, ready to go. So 2 points on step 2 is sectioning hair. I'm going to go from the temple all the way back to just above, you probably see better on mine, where the occipital area is at the back. And that's just a clean section. Excuse me.
Right.
And we do that on both sides. So fun, isn't it, when you're with a real person, you're used to the chair just spinning around.
Yeah, do tell me you don't take their head off and kind of plug them in different directions.
Not intentionally. I have been known to be a little bit rough at times though when I'm rushing. So this is kind of like a V section, and it runs from temple to temple, and then it sits at a point just above the occipital area at the back. I'm going to comb through the hair just to get any tangles from there. And then I'm going to work through with my go-to. This is like the Rolls Royce of clippers. It's amazing. I've loved this ever since we started working with it, and now it's got a great life on it. But now it's cordless as well. It's just an easy thing to put on a charge, and it's kind of my go-to. So step 3, I'm going to talk you through the grading process. I'm going to start with a 4 and work down to a 1. I guess sometimes if you're doing a skin fade from skin all the way through, you might start off short and work. But for me, I'm going to build up a graduation in a square shape. I'm going to keep it as masculine as possible. So there we just very quickly work through, graduating the sections.
And what clipper did you say that was called? Which Fabulous Pro one?
Sorry?
What was the name of the Fabulous Pro clipper, did you say?
This one is the Supermotor clipper.
Perfect, in a cordless version.
In a cordless version, in a nice, it's like a cobalt steel, it's lovely. Ooh. And then you've got your trimmers there as well also, and they go into the same charger. So just working through. Got to hold him steady. There you go, nice mullet, 80s.
Boom, and we're finished.
That's it. Matches his beard, I love his beard.
Isn't it? Very fulsome.
So you're working clean up to your section, just graduating through, keeping a nice square shape. Charlotte, it's so satisfying actually to cut all this off.
Yeah. I bet. Do you find you do work with a lot of on-block heads during lockdown? Have you found that you've wanted to?
Yeah, actually I have, because I guess as a creative and you've got an idea or you might want to do something, then at least on a blockhead you can try things out.
Yeah. And do you find it's always a success, or have you done some humdingers that you're like, whoa, glad that wasn't a client?
Well, yeah, but that's the chance that you can do a humdinger. You can try it, you can test it, and you can, what's the word? Pilot it before you go live.
You can take more risks.
Yeah.
So I know you've kind of said that you find inspiration quite often from your clients and styles that they're bringing in and bringing to you. Yeah. Are there any kind of hairstyles that you've done in the last couple of years that you just love doing? And where did they come from? Where did the inspiration come from them?
Well, I think, you know, with what's happening, Terry's culture is always a good one with football, with the guys, but also there might be something iconic that comes back that's been in a film, or there might be something that's hit the runways in, you know, Men's Fashion Week and things like that. So when that comes out, it becomes like a talking point.
Yeah.
Incidentally, talking about that with men's hair and having a business made me realise that, you know, on a business level, men were more conscientious, I thought. They would come and visit your salon more frequently on the year times they would come to see you. But also when they found you, they were kind of more, I don't know, it was more like your brand driven. But they would always come back to the salon. If they couldn't get you because you were busy, they'd go to somebody else and come back next time. So going back to why I got interested in hairdressing, and I thought with the business, and I noticed a good few years ago that men were spending more on their hair, they were spending with products. Business-wise, they would recommend you to their girlfriend, their mum, other friends, and actually they buy more retail. So for me, with the business, I think with the hairdressing salon as well, 10% was probably men. And by the time I'd started to do awards and get enough tools so I could PR and promote that, it was, I think we got up to like 35% men. Oh, wow. Yeah, it was really good, really good.
So for people that don't know, your salon is in London. Which part of London is it?
West End. Where we are now is I was Mayfair for many years. My business was there for a good 15 years. And then I went freelance somewhere else, and then I've popped over now to Marylebone, just off the high street there on Thayer Street. And then we're moving again now to Rathbone Place, so just around the corner. But I had my business there for a long time, and I was in the West End for a long time. So it's probably about 25 years. Yeah, so still West End based. Yeah, I love it.
And you've just seen the men's side of your business just grow and grow, basically.
Yeah, going back to what you said, Charlotte, is there's something about the confidence with a male client if you can get, how can I say, if you can start recommending things that you know what might suit them,
yeah,
and things like that. And it'd probably take once or twice, because I think we all have a pattern of just doing the same thing all the time. But once you start that process with them, I kid you not, maybe the third time, the fourth time they come in, if you just say, is it just the usual? They won't. They'll ask you, they will have thought about the process and maybe come with something completely different. Do you think this will work for me? Do you think we should try that? So, yeah, I think that's another thing I realized with the guys, that it kept, what's the word? It kept evolving. It just kept evolving. So now I've just changed the guide to a 3. Hold that there. And then what I'm going to do is work through, not as high as we did before, just underneath the occipital area. And then what we're doing is tapering in and cleaning in the nape area, then just behind and around the ears.
I know you've created many men's hair collections. Can you talk a little bit about that process and what kind of opportunities it can lead to? I know you've kind of referenced that when you started being more well known for men's hair, you saw your clients coming through and recognizing you for that skill set.
Yeah. Well, the process, what can I say? I couldn't put it in a nutshell. It still is an amazing time. But that time when I'd worked so hard to get that through, I think my process had to have a meaning. So not only did I enjoy it, and you feel, again, grateful that you're doing something that you love and people are recognizing, so the money's getting better, your popularity is getting better, it feels great. But when I'm designing a collection, I had to work out what was that collection for. One, it had to be creative. One, there's many pictures within that collection that I found that we had to tick all the boxes. So I love that process. I had to really find out what it was I was looking for, try to find out the hairstyles that I want, and then work out how I could teach that on a platform. Because there's nothing worse than doing something that is really out there, and then 9 times out of 10, maybe nobody would ask for it. So it had to be really useful. It had to have a meaning behind it. And then that would push me to do research into the trends. You become on the forefront of looking at what's happening on catwalks, keep in tune with music, what was happening, the younger culture, what were they into, what were they looking at? And then for me, it was trying to pick out the key things that I thought was good, put that all together, and then try to work with a photographer that you could actually get that idea out there, and then you've got a real image to support that.
Yeah. And with your photographs from your collections and work that you've done, is that something that you display in the salon? Have you got that on your social media? Do you feel the clients really respond to the imagery that you've created?
Yeah, absolutely. All of the above through social media. Very lucky you guys have published lots of work for me over the years. It also works, I guess, on the education platforms and things like that. Social media is good, and that for me would then lead me into doing other things that were maybe slightly more commercial, which would also add to that. So that's what I was saying, that journey, as soon as I started into it, I really enjoyed it. It was like, once you go down that rabbit hole, there's so many different things. It wasn't just one thing and you had to do that.
Yeah.
So again, with the 3, just cleaning. Sorry, Charlotte, I'm back. very lightly just use the two. And I'm not going in flat to the scalp, I'm slightly going at an angle, so I'm increasing the graduation in there. That's so funny, Charlotte. I nearly tried to pull his ear back, it won't move. Old habits, old habits.
Do you think they should create dolly heads with movable ears?
We shouldn't have ears, it'd be a lot easier. You could just go around and find And the same throughout the hairline there. What I'm doing is still not going in flat and keeping it at an angle, and then just working around the ear. And then same in the, there he is again, look. In the neck. I'm kind of going in and arcing the blade out. And when I do this, I can feel it actually. But not only that, you can see it and you can feel it, but you can hear it as well. And then I'm just working through, getting a nice blend so there's no lines in there. Another thing I'll say about the clippers, the Supermotor clipper is such a robust tool. It feels quite heavy, but actually it's really well balanced. So when you are fading and when you're working through, I can actually use the weight of the clipper. And if you trust it and you're not too heavy-handed, that'll do most of the work for you. You get used to that.
And what's the charge time on those guys?
Oh God, that's a great question. And I tell you why I can't answer it. I should know technically, I should know that. But a long time.
Long, yeah.
Yeah, because you're not plugging it in, but what you're actually doing is you're putting it into the charger.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
Let me show you, sorry.
It's the stand, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, it's just a stand, it's a base and it sits there with the trimmers.
Oh, cool.
So it's a difficult answer to, it's difficult to answer because it's constantly, if you're conscientious enough to put it in between each client, you never really know. It always works at full charge.
That's going to be perfect for, fingers crossed, everyone's back in the next couple of months. And
yeah, they're going to need them.
Stream of clients coming in. Might even get the opportunity to do good old Noel Gibbs kind of length hair to the short.
I have to come up with a new name for him. I don't think he looks like Noel Gibbs anymore.
Yeah, the transformation is so extreme, he gets a new name.
So when I was growing up also, there was, and I guess there still is, but there was so many different trends that went through. And as a teenager, a hairdresser, and you go through and you want to be on trend, I found it amazing. And again, I think that's what caused, that starts that interest into men's hairdressing. I guess it's the same for women's, but I think men's, would that come back to that they come visit you more? They recommend more? So it made me want to be a little bit more conscientious and a part of that journey?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm just using the last grade on a 1, and I'm just flicking through to blend that hairline through, get a natural hairline. Let's say nobody's ears. I keep going for his ear, shall I?
So what kind of styles in Webster London are your like bread and butter, the styles that men keep coming back for again and again?
Well, I think I'm hesitating because there's been a change since our first lockdown. I think a lot of guys would have got their own clippers and got themselves or their partners or wives just to shave that off. We spoke earlier, how hot was it in March last year? It was amazing. But not only that, the other side of that, I think guys decided that they probably would grow their hair because they didn't need to have a haircut and see what happened. So when we came back, I saw a lot of change in my male clientele, that people were actually wanting to go longer.
Really?
You've still got the guys with the short skin fades and, the ones that need a haircut every week, every 2 weeks, and you've still got that coming in.
Yeah.
But I saw a big shift in the way that guys were thinking, do you know what, should we go that way? And I think, again, for me, when I was looking at the trends, it seemed to be going that way anyway. A lot of celebrities were getting their hair longer. When you looked at guys on advertising campaigns, their hair was getting longer. So I kind of picked up that there's a movement there and I enjoyed it. So Yeah, there's a real cross, but it's still, if anything was to change, I think men do have longer hair, mid-length, longer hair now.
Yeah, it kind of seems more polarized in
Yeah.
ways. Yeah.
Looks like a different man. Look at that.
It does. Looking sharp.
So what I'm going to do is just work around shaping over the ears. And unless I'm skin fading, what I do is I'm really careful not to cut into the hairline. And again, just using clipper over comb in the nape area just to get a nice clean finish. I just rest the clippers on the back of my hand actually, and then I use that arc shape just to get a nice clean shape around his ear. And then meet that point at the other side. Can I just say, on mid-length or longer hair, if you're going to go short, I'll just talk through the steps. So you prep the hair so your hair's really nice to work with. You're very strong with your sections where they go, so that's all clean and this is clips out. So when you do the next step, you don't have to worry about is that going to blend or not, because essentially we're doing an undercut. Once you've worked through all that's out of the way. So you can have time, 5-10 minutes, a little bit longer than you would going through a haircut systematically. You can just work through cleaning everything up, get everything, for me, I like everything perfect before I move on to the next section.
Yeah. I was noticing how precise you were and how sort of clean everything is and all the processes are.
Yeah, that and working with that rule sort of from temple to temple, you can get a really nice sort of square masculine haircut there. And again, it becomes really versatile. So you can hit lots of trends with that, whether you wanted a side sweeping fringe with product or whether you wanted a sort of shorter pompadour. It's really quite versatile. But again, on a business level, if they are going to go for something shorter, you're going to get more frequent visits to the salon. So I think it's better for building up that relationship and a connection with your client. I think it's really good because they will then recommend you. And once you've got that relationship, you build up trust. And once you get to know how that client has their personality and their lifestyle, if they're an office worker or they work in the city or, you know, they've got to be dressed a certain way, maybe they're not like that at weekends. So you build up that relationship, but it'll give you a chance then to start recommending. And I think that's the key thing, is not to fall into that trap of just doing the same thing. And it's hard because you're super busy. You might see a guy every 30 minutes or every 45 minutes or something, or even more frequently.
So why do you think men's hair will always be a big passion of yours?
No, I do love doing women's hair. I love it, but I think it's just something about, maybe because I haven't got any hair, Charlotte, I don't know, maybe I'm grabbing into that. I think it's just because I've started that journey. And as I've started that journey, I've seen my progression with it and my trust and my understanding with men's hair.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes me more confident in doing things. And it makes me really hungry, actually, to keep learning more, because there's always more. And, you know, you see some of the work that some other artists put out there and it thinks, you know, I still get that, oh my God, how did they do that? I need to do it. That's when I'll get a block out and try to work it out myself, you know? Yeah. So I think men's hair, if we recap, if you go back to, you know, the James Dean, back in those times, those iconic pictures, Elvis Presley, you know, then you've got your rock stars that come through. You've got those trends of the new romantics, the Britpops. There's always something that's happening and moving. It excites me. It keeps me interested. And I like the artistic approach to get that. Mm-hmm. And not only that, that gives me enough then and the confidence to share that experience once I've learned it myself, or if I can find a better way, I'll put my take on it. And then I guess I get that gift to give it out and let other people try it as well.
He is looking so much happier, I have to say.
Can you see him smiling through that beard?
Yeah.
Look at that.
He's smizing with his eyes.
Okay, I'll just show you that. So the undercut, because he had a mid-length anyway. I don't really see with the light there. Yeah. So I'm happy to keep that as it is, because when I dress that out with products, because you've cut it at the occipital area, you can see the profile of that.
Yeah.
So it just blends back in.
Yeah, definitely.
And then that will work again. It's quite versatile if he wants to wear it over to the side. But that shape itself will still work in that there, just dipping in the nape area.
Amazing.
I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to use some powder actually.
Brilliant.
Just to change up the texture, it makes it easy for me to work with.
Yeah.
And I'll work through just putting a few bits in there. Tapping it, you've got to be careful. You can't use it like a salt and pepper pot, otherwise you're in trouble.
And do you find that the journey to explaining how to use maybe new products to guys is one that you enjoy as well? So
yeah, I do, because I learned very early, because I was into it as a client myself. And then when I realized that, and then I don't know whether you have a fear, but I don't know, sometimes men wouldn't ask for things, that they see you do it. And I don't know whether it's a masculine thing or not so much anymore. They tried to recreate it and they couldn't do it. So I would spend time with them saying, well, what you need is you need to use this. I found this. For your hair, this would be great. You need to try that. Don't use too much. Do this, do that. Yeah, and again, I enjoy that side of it as well. I think if you can help them. Okay, and all that I've got now is just a little bit of water that I've sprayed into my hands.
Very cool. And I like the versatility that you mentioned earlier about, I can see this guy, he could work this for the office, and then come the weekend, he could mix it up.
For the weekend, slightly more textured for the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. So I know we sort of touched on the trends that you have seen since lockdown. Are there any kind of top trends that you've got predicted for 2021? What do you think everyone's going to be going for this time round?
Well, again, I'd like to say, but maybe that's for me, but I think longer hair for men. And that doesn't mean to say that it's a short back and sides and then really cropped on top. I think longer hair is where we're going to go with hair now for men. And I don't want to contradict myself, but saying that, I also know a lot of my friends that have haircuts, they'll have a haircut every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. So I think, yeah, I think it's going to change. I think it's going longer. I would look at fashion the way that fashion's going as well, and I would try to mirror that back. Usually works a season or a year ahead of what we're doing. So for me to look into that and then try to work out what's best, I try to put a commercial feel to the hair so I can recommend it to the clients. But my personal feeling and my confidence comes from, I think it is going to get longer. So then I will try to, not persuade, but I will try to talk to my clients so that they trust me enough that they're doing the right thing. And if they start getting compliments from their wives and partners, then it's a win-win.
Amazing. And obviously, thank you so much to Babbler's Pro as well for sponsoring this session. And I know,
yeah, they're brilliant. Brilliant.
You're a huge fan of the Supermoto. But yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that's a perfect place to end. Good old Noel, or what are we calling him now with his new look?
Come on. Quick.
Oh, let's call him Darren.
Oh my God, look, it's like my nemesis.
It's uncanny.
Same eyebrows, that's all you can go at. I've only got eyebrows.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure, and thank you so much for taking us through that and breaking it down into 5 simple steps, and the results are absolutely stunning. So thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.